This podcast contains explicit language.
And spoilers. Only if you suck.
How you doing, Dave?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
I'm not bad. Your name is Dave.
Your name's Carlos.
Thank you. It's Two Fat Guys Talk Games, episode 51. Good episode. Good episode. Let's wrap it up.
That's good. We're not... Shortest episode ever. Yeah, no, not getting off that easy.
No, afraid not. We gotta talk about games and some MMO jibber-jabberings based on shit I posted on social media. And I'm pretty sure we'll find some other topics to meander about on.
The Steam sale.
Yes, the Steam sale. We can talk about Steam, their various sales, and why they will never make a Half-Life 3, no matter what you wish.
Fuck you.
Do you ever watch Video Game Championship Wrestling?
No.
For a while, the head of it was Gabe Newell.
Oh.
Setting up the matches and stuff.
Okay.
It's basically a guy who has like one of those WWE games where you can custom characters.
Yep.
And he grabs people's custom characters, makes the actual wrestling programs with the pay-per-view editors and stuff.
Okay.
And sets the computer to fight each other, of course.
Okay.
And based on the results, he creates more wrestling programs out of that. And he puts them on Twitch. And they are stupid popular and stupid funny.
Kind of almost like some of those early claymation deathmatch sort of ones, but done in an official game.
Yeah, sort of. Except this is obviously more for entertainment. It's less about who would actually win, although I guess those were definitely for entertainment as well. I think one of them was like Britney Spears versus Mike Tyson or some shit. But,
exactly.
Yeah, Gabe Newell is like the head of, Video Game Championship Wrestling, and he plans the matches and stuff.
Well, he is very much a gamer. He does
No, not the real Gabe Newell.
Oh.
A character who looks like Gabe Newell.
Okay.
Did you really think the real Gabe Newell was behind Video Game Championship
It wouldn't surprise me.
Would it not? That came out wrong.
No, because Gabe, the real Gabe, is a gamer.
Is he perhaps a gamer?
Oh.
I know. What the hell have you been playing, Dave?
I've been playing a number of different games here recently. I've been playing... I played and finished Dishonored. Took me a year and a half to get to it, and when I finally fired the damn thing up and started playing it, I couldn't put it down.
Who's the last boss of Dishonored?
Spoilers.
Spoiler warning.
Your own friends.
Do they get mutated by Cthulhu?
No. To even say there's a last boss, you really only truly fight one boss in the game.
Is it Cthulhu?
No Cthulhu.
Why?
That's added for the DLC.
It's not very funny, Dave.
I wasn't joking.
Whoa, wait, what? There's Cthulhu DLC for Dishonored?
Witches and other mystical stuff.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Not Cthulhu himself. I know. I haven't actually finished the DLC yet. But I played the game as I normally play these games. I play the hard mode first. I
do the same thing.
Playing the good path. And the good...
I don't do that.
Well, I do. I did that with Infamous Second Son, where you're trying to kill as few people in the game and just knock them out. Same thing with Dishonored. I played that other than the occasional person, I knocked them out. If I killed somebody, it was more by accident. Thankfully, Dishonored doesn't have the problem that the last Deus Ex game had, where you could knock a person out, but if you randomly put them down, they could hit their head and die, which made that game very hard to do 100% non-kill playthrough on. That was actually an achievement.
People are fragile.
Well, and I accept that, but when you're going to the length you have to in these games to not kill people, because it takes a lot longer to do that sort of playthrough, don't give me random bullshit. That's kind of like slipping in Smash Brothers.
Sure, I agree with that. And yeah, if they're going to make that a requirement, don't make them so fragile that if you accidentally clip them into the edge of a table,
Yeah,
their head blows up.
exactly.
What else have you been playing?
Other than that, been playing a few different little indie games on Steam that I got during the Steam sale. Been playing and finishing Kingdom Hearts 1.5, because I am looking forward to 2.5 in December, and WildStar a little bit. But I took a break from that this week just to focus on other things.
Cool.
How about you?
I have been finally tackling my lists that nobody ever thought I'd get to. I've been playing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance on hard, which is basically a replacement for coffee if you need to wake up. It is stupendously good, and I think in my old age, for some reason, I'm wanting more action-y games, and I really need to go back and play some of the Platinum action games I dismissed in the past to see if my mind has changed.
Like
Bayonetta. Though I still say Beautiful Joe and all them, even though they're not strictly Platinum, they were by Clover, who a bunch of their people became Platinum. Not my thing, but yeah, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance has me excited to try those games out, including the upcoming Bayonetta 2 with 1 included, and the Legend of Korra Platinum action game. I've also been playing through Demon's Souls on PlayStation 3.
how's that going for you?
It's kicking my ass. I'm not sure I really find it enjoyable. Like, it's not frustrating me. It's challenging and I'm dying, but I mean, I've been around since the Atari days as of you. This is not the most challenging game I'll ever play or have played. It's not frustrating me, and I appreciate that the game doesn't want to handhold me and wants me to actually earn my way through the stages. It's just the way you play through it is it's very slow paced because you have to follow through on your swings, unlike something like, say, Revengeance, where you swing fast and you can cancel anything into anything, right? So I still need to play it more. I need to see how it feels. If I don't really like Demon's Souls, I just jump right to Dark and see if that feels different. Attacking and blocking with the shoulder buttons threw me off, but it makes sense, I guess. And it's pretty easy to get used to. I've also been playing a bunch of Hearthstone, climbing in the ranks of the ranked matches, and a little bit of WoW here and there just for shits and giggles, and practicing my usual assortment of fighting games, including Ultra Street Fighter 4 and Skullgirls Encore.
First reaction to Demon's Souls was not positive in any way. I originally rented it when it first came out. And through some means, I must have chosen a character that just wasn't right for me.
Who did you pick?
It's been so long I couldn't tell you.
Was it one of the fighter type classes?
I think it was more of one of the long range characters.
Gotcha. I picked the barbarian, which so I was curious.
And I lasted maybe half an hour. I'm just like, I'm done. Then I got on the Steam sale, I'm like, okay, or no, for free on PS3. I loaded it up, and I chose a sword and shield character, and I just kicked ass. I think I probably put about 20, 25 hours into that game before I was good. I felt the game definitely needed a map later of some sort, even if it was one of those Star Wars style 3D maps you could navigate around.
I don't know what that is.
The Star Wars FPSs had usually a...
Oh, you mean like a radar?
Well, not just the radar, but they actually had maps you could zoom in, zoom out, and turn.
Rotate. Oh, yeah, I remember that. I think Metroid Prime had something similar.
Exactly.
In Metroid Prime, I could see why you'd need that. I don't know if this would suit a game like Demon's Souls very well.
Later,
which is much more stage-based, it seems.
You're not far enough to know what I'm talking about yet.
Okay.
There are a little bit further into the game, like you're only on stage 1, I'm guessing.
Well, I was in the hub and I chose one of the stages to go into.
The castle?
I think it was the castle that I
Yeah,
went into.
you can't go to the next one until you...
Okay.
Anyway, stage 2, really could have used that map.
Gotcha. I'll let you know what I think when I get to it.
I got pretty good at the map, and then I went away for a week and came back and was like, fuck this. It's one of those things you have to memorize and get the fuck through, because if you don't, you forget, because it's a massive map with lots of tunnels, internet connectivity, and my god, fuck. But I actually prefer Dark Souls to Demon Souls all the way.
Yeah, Chris Weston, who I do the Flashcast with, he did say Demons and Dark feel very different.
Yes.
And if you dislike one, you may like the other, and vice versa.
Uh-huh.
So I'll see how I feel about Demon Souls, and I'll let you know, since you've obviously progressed far enough to know what I'm talking about on certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I played decently far into Dark Souls, and I played into Dark Souls 2. I don't know which one I like better of the Dark Souls yet. I haven't put enough time into Dark Souls 2 yet. But I definitely feel that Dark Souls 2 is a little bit more accessible off the start.
I'm going to say I really like how one of the multiplayer features is something that doesn't even require you to play with other people. It just shows you what other people did in certain areas through their souls, right?
That is nice.
I think that is so cool. I don't want it in every single game, but wow, that is such a good idea, because it lets you play alone with other people. It lets you go to the library alone and still in public, right?
Yeah.
It makes you feel like, yeah, you're enjoying a single-player game, but so are other people, and you're learning from each other. And I really like that.
I put a significant amount of time into Dark Souls. And I got to the point where people were starting to invade my game.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to say, I didn't like that.
Not a fan of people being able to... Can you flag yourself for that, or is it... No, okay.
If you're... Okay. I don't remember if Dark Souls had an offline mode, but I did not like the fact that I would be making progress, all of a sudden someone would invade my freaking game. Usually somebody who's way more powerful than me just kill me, and now I'm back to square one. I've lost not only the souls I had earned already, but I also had to use a rare item to bring myself back to non-hollowed mode.
Gotcha.
Did not like that. I do not like the fact that people can jump in. I realize it's part of the game and everything else, but...
Well, I don't like forced multiplayer either. Like, I think it's fine, but you should be able to opt out of it.
Yeah.
Like, arguably, seeing what other people did is kind of forced as well. But we also have to consider that that's not really intruding on you, right?
Those are more of like shadows. I don't mind that at all.
It's kind of like, yeah, they're kind of part of the environment, right?
Yeah.
The way you describe is kind of like how Diablo 2, you could flag for PvP and the other person had no say in the matter. Which I always thought was a bad idea, and Blizzard stubbornly stuck to for the life of that game because reasons.
Otherwise, though, I mean, good game. I will go back to Dark Souls 2. It's a game that I play for a little bunch, and then I have to step away from. Not out of so much frustration, as much as it's just not something I can play for a long time.
I heard an opinion on the Super Best Friend cast. I think Pat said it. He said it's not that these games are hard. It's that today's games are so easy that something like this, which doesn't even touch the kind of stuff that used to be like on the SNES, or rather the NES, stuff like this comes out and people are like, why is this so hard? It's just comparatively because we've become a bunch of pussies. Would you say this is a factual observation?
Yes.
Or do you think it is oversimplifying a more complex problem?
Well, it is a simplification, definitely. However, today's games are made to be very accessible.
There's nothing wrong with accessibility. I think accessibility and rewarding difficulty, because there's non-rewarding difficulty, I think those things don't need to be mutually exclusive. You can give someone tools, let them loose and still challenge them to know what they're doing with those tools.
True. NES and even Super NES, original Sega games, a lot of those games were harder than some of the hardest games we've got now.
This is true. This is true.
You take somebody who can kick ass in Dark Souls, put them in front of Battletoads, and see how they cry in 10 minutes.
To be fair, this is also one of those issues where sometimes different people are just better at certain things.
Absolutely.
Like, I saw people talk about Cave Story's True Final Dungeon, which I won't say too much about because I know you haven't played through all of Cave Story yet. The True Final Dungeon, for people listening, it's the one you have to do all the complicated steps to actually activate at the end.
Yeah.
There are people, I see comments all the time about how fucking brutally hard this dungeon is. And it's tough, and it has no save points in it. You have to do it in one sitting. But it's not that bad. Like, there's stuff in Super Metroid that is way harder than what was in there. And yet, I recall saying something like that once, and people going, well, I played that game, and it wasn't nearly as hard as Cave Story. So it could be that just some people are just better at certain things than others, and vice versa. Like, some people can play Dark Souls, find it easy, find Battletoads hard, or the total Battletoads speedrunner master could play a very easy game like, I don't know, a Bastion or a Double Dragon Neon, which is not shitting on those games. Those are both great. And they could find it the hardest thing in the world, right? Like,
yeah.
There's definitely subjectivity here, but gamers have become pussies regardless.
We all have our different interests.
Indeed. I am interested in all sorts of genitalia. You want a very specific set of them. Oh, am I wrong?
No.
Am I wrong? Okay, excellent. There we go. So, I said some shit on social media that you thought I was wrong about.
Well, and I took a look at even my comment back, and your viewpoint was not wrong. It's your viewpoint.
Maybe, for those listeners who don't follow us on social media, I'll actually,
Here, let's bring it up.
Oh, do you want to read it out? I was just going to sum it up. Basically, I think that rating, because I saw a topic on MMO Champion, and I replied with this, and I thought it was so gold that I just threw it around on social media. Basically, someone on MMO Champion was asking why rating has such high turnover. And, there are some theories, like people get burnt out, people don't want the same thing all the time, which is not necessarily true, but whatever. And what I basically said in response was, that it's very easy. Rating sucks. Rating is game design designed purely to keep you paying subscription fees, and that cannot even remotely touch examples of stellar game design in non-MMOs.
Okay.
Yeah, something
so
like that.
you pretty much summed up perfectly what you said. And I came back basically and said, this is definitely a topic for our podcast, that you were wrong. But you're not from... Your perspective is correct. But just like solo gameplay is not everybody's cup of tea, rating is not either. Now,
I do understand subjectivity. If someone likes rating and doesn't like other kinds of games, who am I to tell them to change their tastes? I am not anyone. And I have rated and will rate again and will probably derive some fun out of the activity.
Okay, now, I have a question on this one. You say you've rated before.
Yeah.
When and what? I'm curious.
I've done Vanilla WoW 20 and 40 mans. I've done some of the 25 manners. And some of the most recent thing I've tried is the LFR stuff, the looking for raid stuff, because it's easy to just make a group and just have some fun in a easy-ass raid in WoW.
Wow. Okay, that tells you how long I've been out of WoW. Yeah, I didn't even know looking for raid existed.
Yeah, it's like Group Finder, except the gear you get in Raid Finder is deliberately not as good as you can get if you go to a normal or a heroic raid. I'm okay with that. What I wish is that you could use Raid Finder to do a harder difficulty. But Blizzard says, no, we don't want that because people won't be prepared. as if somehow they need to nanny us. There are already sites online where you can plug in an add-on to WoW, and you can basically use some functionality like that to play a higher difficulty raid. I should also point out that since you've left WoW, Cross Realms have expanded to include basically all realms.
Mhm.
There aren't battle groups anymore. You can be leveling in a low-level zone, and you will see, in order to keep the zone population up, people from other realms.
When did they do that?
They did this about a year ago, I want to say. It's very Guild Wars-ish, actually.
Actually, that's funny because Guild Wars...
Guild Wars has done it from the beginning.
Actually, not like that, no. Guild Wars just turned that on back in,
The mega server.
The Mega server.
Now, WoW doesn't do the mega server yet. You're still in your own realm. It's just that for places where populations are lower, like, say, a leveling zone, you'll see cross-realm stuff.
Well, but
you can actually even trade and chat with cross-realm now. And
that's exactly how Guild Wars does their thing, though. Sorry, though, I interrupted.
No, it's okay. I've been interrupting you all podcast. You can also mail your cross-realm character stuff now, so it's like through the mailbox or from Alliance to Horde, as long as it's BattleNet bound.
Fair enough. The mega server idea is that you still have your servers.
Yeah.
But what it will try and do is if you go into a low-level zone that is a low population, it will first show you characters from your server, and then start adding in other characters from other servers so that the zones are never as empty as they were getting.
That's almost exactly what WoW does now.
Okay. Well, that's the first thing I could think of. Second thing that Guild Wars has taken from WoW directly.
Sure. And I say this all the time, I need to play more Guild Wars 2. It's not fair that I haven't, because even though it is a dirty MMO, it's one that I really enjoyed what little I played of it so far, and I love Jeremy Soul's music, and I love the look and feel of the game, and I like how it plays, so I really need to not be a bastard and actually play it.
I still say, text me one day and I'll jump on and play with you.
So back to this original topic of why rating sucks.
Okay, so
Yes, go on.
So my arguments on this. Now, I have been leader of, as well as a big raider in one of the guilds I was part of. I helped create it and then raided with them, and then kept the guild alive for a while. Anyway,
I recall this. Actually, I was part of that guild once, I think, for a very brief amount of
time. Yeah,
and then I left because I'm an asshole.
Yeah. Not too
like
much.
Shadow from FF6, I stole all your money. No, that was Yuffie from 7. Fuck that cunt.
Anyway, there is a distinct difference in mentality between a raiding guild and even your raid finder.
Oh, for sure.
Because, number one, most of those raids were locked to a once per week sort of thing. Because you needed a week to sort of get through it with any sort of evening raiding group sort of thing. I've never been one. I've never liked the whole, unless you're a raider, you're never going to have the best gear.
I hate that. Stupid.
I don't like the mentality of that. On the other hand, raiding does require a fuck ton of work, effort, and cooperation, which...
I just want to add before you continue. At no point do I disagree with the fact that raiding requires effort, but I'll talk about that when you're done your point.
But, I mean, this is where some of your comments kind of threw me off here. It's like you mentioned prioritizing forced cooperation. A raid is not forced. A raid is an event that a guild usually is built around raiding groups to do this content. You're not forcing in this case, as much as you're not forcing grouping to do instances.
I would argue that even if you're not technically forced, you are effectively forced by virtue of the best gear coming from raids. Because to progress your character, you need more stats, and you need to pump up certain stats so that you can make new builds. And, in a game like a Diablo 3, You can easily do this by yourself or with people, and maybe doing it with people is a little faster because of bonuses, but you can still do it all by yourself. And in an MMO, you need to raid to get the best stuff. And until the raid finder in WoW, you needed to raid to see the story of the game. If that's all you were playing for, you needed to do it. So it is forced cooperation. It's forcing you to play with others, which you should not have to do even if in a massive multiplayer environment. The massive multiplayer part simply means that there are lots of people around. It should not be an indicator of needing to force you to group, and for that group to fail, for the whole of the group to fail together, despite some of its members having succeeded at their roles, and to get the game's best rewards that can be used solo, even though a soloist couldn't possibly get them by themselves. There's something inherently wrong with this design, and that it's only really done. My theory is that nobody likes doing it. It's only done because this is how you make an MMO work, is to force people to have to cooperate, and then make sure there are raid consumables you have to farm shit for, and basically put in work, quote unquote, to succeed at a goal and feel good about it with other people.
Raiding is really considered an end game sort of thing.
Sure, and maybe there's a way to do it right, but there's a lot of games, single player and non-MMOs with multiplayer, whatever you like, that have meaningful end game content and meaningful game content, period. Without needing to force players to do this, to shoehorn them into a certain style of play, because this is the only way right now an MMO could possibly work and make money. That's really why I find it rather disgusting that it's so popular. And yet, even if I delve into it and do it sometimes myself, it's ghetto gaming. It is the most casual ass thing that requires so much work to work. Like, it's like the worst Battletoads level.
And again, I don't like the fact that you can't get the gear on your own, even through... I think anything gainable in raiding should be obtainable through the game, even if it's through tokens or whatever else. I don't even like the idea of it taking you longer just because you're not raiding, but there has to be some way for a non-raider to get the gear.
I think there needs to be some way for a non-raider to just play all the content. I think instances, like while I was doing this a bit with Flex, with like their normal raid difficulty now, Flex is, it changes difficulty depending on how many people you have between 10 and 25. I think all content should scale all the way down to 1. I think if I run into fucking the Sunwell Plateau by myself, even at level 70, that the game scales it so that I can beat it by myself. Now, there's of course the hardware concern of making it an instance, and then, how would they support that? And I thought those were dubious even at the time, and I think they're even more dubious now. But I mean, ultimately, and I'm harping on the same point here, but the point is, the only reason it's done this way is because this is how MMOs retain people. This is the only reason why there are guilds built around it, and there are people built around it, because it kind of feels good to do this task with people in this fantastical world. But if you really, really look at the task you're being asked to do, whatever amount of skill or challenge it takes, it's not really all that great. I mean, Sonic 06 has some areas that take quite a lot of skill, but if we analyze the mechanics in play and what the game is asking you to do, is it really worthwhile that it's asking you to memorize how clipping works so you don't fall through the floor? Is it really fair for the game to ask you to memorize enemy placement where you couldn't possibly react to it in a game series where you're supposed to be able to react to it? It's kind of like free-to-play games, right? It's kind of evil and weird anti-game design that has become super popular. And hey, man, people like it. I'm just saying, like, if you're wondering why there's turnover for raiding, it's because sometimes people realize this is dumb. It's just
There's also the drama involved.
Yeah, because now you have to deal with people. I hate people. I don't want to deal with people. People are stupid.
Raids do lead very much to a lot of drama and a lot of hatred between different people.
Maybe this is ironic coming from a guy who goes to fighting game tournaments and who has to deal with people in real life in a game, but in a competitive environment, we both have the mutual goal of trying to outdo one another, and then we understand one another, and we become better. In raiding, it's all about getting your numbers to be bigger than the opponent numbers. There are fights that are blatant gear checks. There are fights where you have to stick with a very specific rotation. There are fights where you have to stick to the script, stupid, or you're going to get everyone killed. Mm-hmm. And that is so, like, kind of unintuitive and dumb. Like, it bothers me that I can play a game like Revengeance, and the game lets me decide how I'm going to dance around fools and combo them myself, and it doesn't stick me to a script, even though I could play a very set way. You know what raiding is? Raiding is the multiplayer version of Monkey Ball, where to beat all the levels, you have to turn on a dime at this specific timer period in order to beat the level.
Halls of Reflection.
The Halls of Reflection. I like the Halls of Reflection. The pain. So exhilarating.
I liked the Halls of Reflection,
the despair.
As a healer, that was always
so delicious.
The lines in there were awesome, but
the chase with the Lich King.
Ultimately, the Halls of Reflection, the actual hall, told you whether your tank. It was a intelligence check for doing instances.
Now, keep in mind, the Halls of Reflection was not a raid. The Halls of Reflection was a small group.
It was still, but as far as the groups go for heroic, as far as people being in your guild, it told you whether they were up to the task
of tanking or not.
Well, tanking, healing, or DPSing. It told you a lot about your group members. And in fact, our guild actually used the Halls of Reflection Heroic as a
litmus test.
Because if you couldn't come in, we would throw in somebody like me as the healer, and bring in a new tank and a bunch of DPS. And by the end of it, I was able to say, okay, this person can cut doing this raid or not, because if the tank couldn't keep people off of me enough that I could actually heal. Ultimately, that was a tank training ground.
It's funny you mention that, because WoW now has single-player proving grounds, where you get thrown into a special solo instance, and you have to do a challenge that's specifically tailored for DPS, tank, or healer. And in fact, in the next expansion, you need to complete these to queue up for heroics. So, in a way, this is good and bad. Good because it's encouraging the solo play and the solo progression. Bad because it's just to lead into group play again.
That also leads to a very homogenized mindset. Don't know if I like that too much, but yeah, no. Halls of Reflection was always the hardest group instance in Wrath.
Which is funny because the bulk of it and the challenge of it was in that one room.
Yeah.
With waves, boss, waves, boss.
No, because there was the two challenges there. Mm-hmm. There was the actual Halls of Reflection, mm-hmm. which was a test for your healer and your tank. The test for your DPSers was the Frozen Wall hallway. Because if your DPSers couldn't actually do the DPS they needed, you were done. Mm-hmm. So you had your two tests there.
I don't recall much of the hallway. I remember the room and the chase with the Lich
hallway
King.
Where the Lich King is slowly coming up behind you.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And you have to take out the waves and then take out the wall, out the waves, take out the wall. And
I think everybody has to have some DPS to get through that part. Even the tank has to put out some serious damage.
But you wouldn't get there if it wasn't for your healer and your tank from the Halls of Reflection, and then if your DPSers actually couldn't handle and put out enough DPS, yes, your tank and your healer still has the additional challenge, but the challenge is a cakewalk for us at that point compared to the actual Hall.
It is. That's the easy part of it. That reminds me of how in Wrath of the Lich King, the design philosophy behind tanks were that they should be able to do tons of damage. I topped so many DPS meters as a tank in that expansion. Holy fuck. That was a fun time to be a tank.
That was the best time to be a druid healer.
Yeah.
Because you, number one, could heal.
Well, now I'm curious about this. In the Warlords of Draenor healing philosophy they posted, and I'm not trying to bring you back to WoW at all. I simply, nobody should come back to WoW. I shouldn't even be playing it. I'm just trying to get your feedback on this, because it seems like a good idea, but I don't fucking play healers in MMOs, except for in City of Heroes, where I could play a healer without targeting anybody, which is what I want. The Warlords of Draenor healing philosophy is that you should never run out of mana, and here's how they do it. The base healing spells that you can spam but that aren't really your big throughput heals,
Okay.
they always cost, they cost so little that your mana regen is faster than it if you're spamming them.
Okay.
Like, you can spam them repeatedly, but your mana will always regen faster.
Okay.
It's the big throughput heals, the ones that heal whole groups, the one that heals, can top up a tank from nothing. Those are the heals that cost mana. So you have to manage your mana. You burn up your mana on the big ones, and then you have to kind of manage your mana by using the little ones. In a way, they're turning mana bars into rage bars, or even rogue energy bars.
Well, actually,
I always thought every class should use energy anyway, but that's just me.
Actually, that works a lot more like it did in Wrath, because that's exactly how it worked. Is that my mana pretty much would regen through the occasional renews and everything else, but it was the big ones that would drop my mana when shit hit the fan.
I remember when I did groups in Wrath as my Retribution Paladin, if our healer would die, I would be the healer.
Yeah.
And I would succeed.
Mm-hmm.
We still won the encounters, and I didn't find myself, even as a Ret Pally, running too dry on mana.
See, in Wrath, though, there was no problem.
Yeah, I know. There was the big issue with Kata, and you thought there was a problem, and I made fun of you, and maybe I wasn't in my right place to make fun of you, even though I like making fun of you.
My biggest problem, and I probably mentioned this on a previous podcast, but I went from, at level 70, or was Wrath took you to level 80?
Wrath of the Lich King took you to 80.
Okay, so at level 80, as a druid healer, I could heal Halls of Reflection no problem with a good tank.
Sure.
And that was your litmus test. I could end game.
I've Ret Pallied healed that room in Heroic, so I know what you're talking about.
So that was a damn good litmus test at the time.
Litmus!
In Cataclysm, at 85,
yeah,
I could no longer go back and heal a heroic Halls of Reflection. Because the mana regen had been nerfed so badly that it just couldn't be done. I mean, I had a hard time going back and heroicing.
Heroicing! That is a verb now.
I make lots of verbs.
It's gonna heroic the shit out of your cock. Is that what I meant to say?
No,
I think it is actually what I meant to say.
One of the first Lich King instances, that one where you
there's going to be so much Heroic King going on.
The one where you go through and you fight the giant
bug,
undead beetle guy.
Are you talking about the Trial of the Crusader raid where you fight him, or are you talking about the 5-man group where you're under Anubarak or whatever?
Yes.
In fact, I think his name was Anubarak.
Yeah, that
because he was in both of those. He was in the 5-man and then in the raid.
There was even the achievement you got for doing it in under 10 minutes or whatever else.
I actually soloed that raid the other day.
That one, or that 5-man heroic was always so easy and so fun to do as the daily. because you just zoomed right through the freaking thing. I even had a hard time healing that as a heroic.
Sure. And Cataclysm, like, there are some good ideas, but Blizzard's idea of iteration, it pisses me off. Like, while this has become the MMO podcast, we might as well talk about Blizzard game design.
Sure.
Blizzard, for a team of their size and resources, are the slowest, dumbest game designers on the planet. They have David Sirlin once said, I could balance all the WoW classes in a year. I believe him. I believe he actually could. The Blizzard, you can tell they design by committee with all the voices, all the hands in the pot. And what you end up getting is, if corporations are people, which they're not, and Blizzard is a person, Blizzard is insane, who is always changing its mind based on the flavor of the day. Like, yeah, vanilla was not perfect. Fuck vanilla, wow. But we also never gave it time for its metagame to evolve to see if maybe it wasn't as broke as all the things that got patched out. This happens in fighters because historically they don't get patched too often, but sometimes the low tier of yesterday is today's game breaker, not because anything's changed, but because now people know how to play it right. And knowledge has evolved. And Blizzard, they change their minds on this all the time. They're like, you know what? Mana's a problem, so we want you to have an empty mana bar. And did it not ever occur to them that maybe mana just sucks as a mechanic? Because mana is stupid as a mechanic. Everybody should have an energy bar. Everybody should have something that builds up, you use it, and it takes time to recharge. The energy bar is the perfect resource. I don't know why only 3 classes use it. They never thought of it. Like, well, mana is flavorful, and we want our healers to have to worry about the bar. And that's a great argument, agreed. But they never think to make healing a bit more like the more exciting play styles. Why can't there be a healer that uses energy like a rogue, and it's kind of like you combo point heals into a big heal? Like, I just thought of this now, and it's awesome. More awesome than what Blizzard comes up with.
Ultimately, Blizzard does jump on certain things, and their nerfs are ridiculous in a lot of cases.
It's like they look at a spreadsheet, and they're like, well, these numbers are too high, we gotta nerf this.
I mean, look at what another Blizzard game, Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Look at what they did to Demon Hunters.
What did they do to Demon Hunters, Dave?
Well, Demon Hunters
in vanilla D3, they were quite powerful.
In vanilla, yes, for all of a month.
And then they got the nerf bats.
And then they got the nerf bat, and they only got fixed with the expansion.
They did the same thing in D2. Jabazons were one of the strongest classes in the game. And then the expansion gutted Jab, and it never recovered.
Yeah.
The ability Jab is now useless.
You're right. For a team that big, I mean, look at Blizzard's philosophy around gameplay in general. I mean, they still hold to new content coming maybe every 4 or 5 months, with the addition of a new dungeon or new raid. And then the big things happening during expansions. Whereas you've got WildStar, Guild Wars,
or the Old Republic, even,
or
to an extent.
To an extent, but I think Guild Wars is the better example out of the group, mainly because it doesn't have a subscription.
Sure.
In that every month something new happens, or actually every couple weeks something new happens. And these events permanently change the world.
It's because Blizzard, they design by committee. So what you end up happening is some guy puts forward an idea, and another guy wants to iterate on it, and another guy wants to iterate on it, and the first guy wants to iterate on that, and then they meet and squabble, and it takes them 7 years to do a character model.
I think we should have a meeting about that.
I just want to point out that, fuck. Capcom threw Cammy into Street Fighter 4 in 3 months because she won a contest of most popular character.
Okay.
Cammy is a fully detailed model with a full skeleton and full features and just full everything, and Blizzard can't make a new human that still looks worse than anything in Street Fighter 4, which is not a high bar to begin with, they can't do this over years with a committee. Years and years. It takes Blizzard years. The other day I read an article about the wait time between between the last patch of an expansion and the next expansion. And it's like 6 months, 9 months, 8 months, 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
12 months, a year! A year on the same patch because Blizzard takes 8 years to design content.
Well, it's also why Blizzard's gotten used to the ebbs during that period. Once that last patch comes out, and it's not a major content patch, which if you look at most of Blizzard's patches before a new expansion, they're not big content patches. I think the last one that actually had a lot of content was the Sunwell, leading up to the next expansion.
Well,
so
I see why they want to
do this little patch that doesn't even end off with an event, and then your subscriptions drop. Everybody goes elsewhere, and then the month beforehand, people come back.
Yeah, it's spiky. It's like they're okay with this spiky subscription model, but they don't mind people paying full subscription fees in that 12 months with nothing. And at the same time, now I'm becoming one of the MMO players I just said I disliked, because now I'm bitching about no new content when I'm a giant hypocrite, and I will argue that you can play a 20-year-old game that's awesome over and over again for 20 years. So maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Maybe I'm just getting mad because we've been talking about MMOs this whole podcast.
It really has become the MMO one.
Yeah, we've had an MMO one, though.
It's good to come back to the topic every now and then.
It is good, I guess.
I mean, I know you haven't really done too much of WildStar. You played some of the beta.
I played some of the beta. I like the look. It made me pine for WoW and Guild Wars, which is partly why I played WoW again and why I'll probably play Guild Wars again. I do have a trial key from a friend at work, so I'll see. I've read some stuff about WildStar that really impresses me, and other stuff that's from the boneheaded vanilla WoW days that makes me want to commit seppuku on everybody in this room.
I'm almost level 20 in the game. I made the mistake of playing a lot of the beta before playing the actual game.
So not a lot is new to you.
Well, no, I've actually done... WildStar learned from WoW in a great deal of what it did right off the bat. Is it does your starting area? Everybody has the same starting area.
Yeah.
And then you choose which area to go to, just like you did in Wrath. You had the 2 different starting areas for the continent.
Sure.
So you can do one or you can do the other, but even then, I did the whole new area that I hadn't done during the beta, but I don't know, maybe it was just because I was playing the same class or something, but I've gotten to level 20 now, and I've got all this new content, but some of their design decisions just kind of piss me off. I love the gameplay. The combat is so solid, and it really is an improvement.
I liked a lot of the aspects about low-level combat, what little I tried.
I've even done some of the high-level mid-level combat, I guess, at this point. But it is an improvement even over Guild Wars because of how both you do the combat and your opponent does the combat. I like a lot of how they're doing things there. But then I come around and I come back to, say, the housing, which I forget which comic did it. It was a Penny Arcade one.
Yeah, where it's like, oh man, this dungeon has this sweet bookshelf or some shit.
Well, the actual joke there was everybody stopped playing at level 16. Because at level 16 you get your house. And even I myself found that. But I don't like their design methodology around how much they double dip.
Fuck levels. I'm starting to think the MMOs of the future will just say no to levels. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe Secret World had it right.
Oh.
You can branch off into anything and keep learning things.
But even then,
But you have
there were
limited
still
slots.
obvious levels.
Sure, kind of, sort of, but mask it, make it not too apparent. Like,
Because I'm not against leveling. I mean, I actually like when I get a level in WildStar because the announcer gets on there. It's like, holy fuck, you leveled!
Jesus, titty fucking Christ! You just gained a level.
I think I heard that one for me. But it stuff like that was actually kind of fun in that. And the Secret World, now that it's free to play, I could even see myself going back and touching again. But leveling and levels, I don't think, are necessarily the main problem here.
By my money-sucking ex-wife and her evil children, you have gained a level yet again.
I like these. We should. Those are ringtone worthy. It's just.
Did you just gain another level? My dick is rock hard right now.
Dude, I got ringtones coming. Your ringtone's not going to be all these.
You put that ringtone on your phone in public, and I will give you $2.
Worth it.
Did your phone just say it had a giant floppy cock and something about levels?
Anyway, the problem I found with WildStar is, especially when it has to do with the housing. Number one, any improvements you want to do to the sky or your actual housing is temporary. And by temporary, I mean if you ever want to change it again, like you can spend 100 gold on, say, a solid gold floor. So let's say next week you wanted to have a wooden floor. You just wanted to do a design change. Can you just put it back to the gold floor? Nope, 100 gold again.
Oh, Christ. Oh, sorry, what I meant to say was, pull those anal beads out of my ass and watch me come. You just got another level.
Okay, we gotta move on. I'm not playing that one's ringtone.
Oh, sorry, that one's too far. Sorry. I didn't realize what a monster I became.
Speaking of monsters and going too far, Steam sale.
I did not buy too many this year. I found a lot of the games I would have just impulse bought, I either already owned, or I sat on the shopping cart screen and went, am I really going to play this? Nah.
This year was interesting as far as what I did, because the fact right now I don't have a job kind of prevents me from going crazy.
You don't have a day job. Let's keep that clear. You are still a productive member of society.
That's true. So the worst thing I bought during the Steam sale was a game called Pixel Piracy.
Uh-huh.
That's a new game by the guys who made Terraria. And I wish I could say it was as good as Terraria. It's not. It is a boring slog piece of shit.
Oh, I bought more than I thought, actually. Are you ready for my list?
Fire away.
I bought Darksiders 2, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, Standard Edition of Blackguards, the Special Edition of Shadow Warrior,
Yeah.
Nidhogg, the Metal Sonic DLC for the Sonic Racing game, Gunmetal, the Yogscast DLC. I don't even know what the fuck a Yogscast is. And something called Upcoming DLC.
Okay. My list is actually a little bit large. I think this year I spent probably about $100 this year.
Okay.
But even then, $40 of that was for South Park.
Sure.
Because I kind of had a hankling for playing it.
A hankling?
Yep.
A hankling?
Yep.
Okay.
And I didn't want to buy the PS3 version. I decided it wasn't fun.
Did you almost just vomit at the mention of the PS3?
No.
Like, come on, it's not a bad system.
Just a hiccup. So, I bought Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Basically, due to a review that we actually saw on it.
Call of Juarez?
Yeah.
Okay,
shooter.
Yeah.
I bought Halo Spartan Assault for co-op.
Carlos here. Turns out Halo Spartan Assault does not have co-op. Don't buy it if you're looking for co-op. Fuck you, Microsoft.
Whoa, there's a Halo game on Steam?
Yeah, it's kind of like a top-down scrolling shooter.
There's a Halo game on Steam?
Yes.
By Microsoft?
Yes.
Since when?
Since months ago. I got it for $2.
We're probably going to try this today, I
Yes.
assume. Okay.
A large number of my purchases this year were co-op games.
Oh,
Like-
God. I mean, hooray.
Fuck you. Painkiller, Hell and Damnation.
Nice. That better have really cool weapons.
It's a shooter much like
A shooter or a shmup?
shooter.
So like Shadow Warrior or Duke Nukem or something?
What's the one that we were playing a while ago? Part 3.
Serious Sam?
Like Serious Sam.
We could play worse games than Serious Sam, I tell you what.
I bought Arkham Origins. It was $7.
Sure.
And then I went back into the games that I've kickstarted, or not kickstarted, greenlit,
Uh-huh.
and decided, I wonder which ones of these have actually released. And the ones that had released and were on sale, I bought. So I bought Freedom Fall. Saturday morning
Is
RPG.
that the one with the sadistic princess?
Yes.
I kind of want to see you play that and laugh at you later.
Sure.
Okay.
Rogue Shooter. That was the one where you can gain the different types of weapons. It's randomly generated. We both greenlit it.
Did I now?
Yeah. Epic Battle Fantasy 4 was a...
Oh, is it that one that the ad specifically tells you that you're not its real dad?
Yes.
I really like that ad.
Yes. Contagion, which I asked you to look at.
Yes.
I bought a bunch of different season passes that were like at $2. Shadow Warrior. I bought the King of Fighters 13.
Yeah, King of Fighters.
Banished. Blade Kitten. Cloud Built, which was an interesting one that I had.
Did you buy Blade Kitten for real?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe it's good.
Drift Moon. South Park. I bought the one of the Dishonored ones. Yeah, that's it. So it wasn't that many.
Sure. So, point is, the Steam sale didn't take as big a chunk out of us as usual this year,
No.
but it still took a chunk.
Oh, and it's funny how the Steam sale sometimes brings prices down to a point where you're like, you know something? Even if I end up hating the game, it's worth the risk. I mean, that's the reason why I think the Steam sale works for a lot of people is it brings games down to a $5 level.
Sure, it's like,
A $3 level.
this game sucks, but it's not like I spent more than $1 on it, so whatever.
Well, and that's just it. It's not like back in the days of, the Nintendo, where you pay $50 for a game and be like, what the fuck did I just buy?
Where your dad buys you Star Voyager, and you're like, oh, that was my first NES game.
Star
It was... You remember it's like X-Wing and TIE Fighter?
Yeah.
Take that, make them 8-bit, and make them, on top of being 8-bit, terrible.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's not that great.
I got Wizardry.
I would have rather had Wizardry than fucking Star Voyager.
Ouch.
Wizardry would have let me create a character and actually do shit. Star Voyager, you have to explore the galaxy for a new home for your people, and then get back to your base, and you have to defeat the enemies and shit, but I've never once encountered an enemy cluster that I could actually beat.
Oh, lovely.
Like, the enemies would just keep spawning.
One of those. Yeah.
If you warped wrong, you would end up in a black hole and die. One time I was traveling space, and I see a message on my screen that says, home base destroyed. Game over!
Yeah. Love those. Just love those.
I didn't have the Super Amazing Wagon... Oh, wait, I did have the Steam version of Super Amazing Wagon Adventure. It was on sale, though. It went down from $3 to $2 during the Steam sale.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommended a whole bunch of people pick that up. So yeah, Steam sale. Good for everyone? Probably.
I still think it's a damn good way to do things. It's Still funny how other companies try and go along with it and try and take profits away from Steam. Like Good Old Games will do their sale. Origin. Actually, Origin this year didn't have a sale at the same time. Maybe they're learning. Not that it matters, because Origin sells games that Steam doesn't these days. All the EA games are only on Origin.
I'll just buy the console versions of those. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, shall we wrap this up? We're already about an hour. We spent a long time talking about MMOs.
Damn. Yeah, no, I think we're good on that. There's not too much happening in the industry right now to really bitch about that we didn't bitch about during our post E3.
Yeah, and since everybody and their mother is talking about Ubisoft's mistakes, we can elaborate on them next time, so.
Yeah. As much as I love to kick Ubisoft while they're down, everybody else is kind of doing it, so. I can hold off a couple weeks until I get around to it. I still haven't picked up Watch Dogs, and frankly, I wasn't going to pick it up for $40 in the Steam sale.
I wasn't going to pick it up at all. Because it looks kind of eh.
I'm still very curious about it, especially after watching Angry Joe's review of it. It kind of piqued my curiosity again. But I'm not going to pay more than $20 for it. It's not a game I pick up for my PS3 or PS4. So it's just going to have to wait until probably the Christmas Steam sale.
Shit fuckity cunt hole! You just got another fucking level!
That was Carlos.
I was going to do another one, but I fucked up. I choked, sorry. This is Dave.
T-Fat Guys Talk Games, episode 51. We're out.
Bye!
So, if you've liked what you heard, you want to leave us some feedback, you want to give us some criticism, whatever, our podcast site is tfgtg.blogspot.com, where you can also find the feed link and our YouTube channel.
You can also find us on Twitter at TFGTG. Yeah. There's no way to continue that. So
There's no way to continue that sentence.
Please leave us some feedback. We accept good and bad. We will usually respond, seeing as we have such a small group audience.
We do have thousands of millions of followers, so we might not respond to you right away.
Sure, let's go with that.